FYF Sports, man, it's Lamont here. Back with another video today, man. Today we definitely gotta talk about the NBA draft. Everybody knows this week we got the draft lottery coming up, and the NBA just released new projections for the picks because when the NBA came back, certain teams were not invited back to play, so that kind of affected some of the teams' odds as far as getting the first pick. So they changed the format with regards to the percentages on how you can get into the lottery or who can get the number one overall pick. So we're going to be breaking that down with you. We're going to break down who has the best percentages to get the number one pick. And then we're also going to be breaking down the projections, player projections, who's projected to go one, what players have dropped, are there any surprises? Before we get into that, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you can stay in tune and up to date with everything that we got going on. You don't want to miss these videos. We got a lot of NBA news coming up as the NFL season transitions into play. We'll be following a little bit of NFL. We might even touch on some baseball as well. So, again, make sure that you hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything that we drop. We got a lot of new content that's going to be dropping. We're going to get back to our reaction videos. We have a lot of mini-series videos to complete. So just check out our playlist, check out all of our content, and make sure you engage. Make sure you comment on all of our videos. We're still doing our weekly drawings. So make sure, as long as you're commenting on the videos, we're going to be announcing weekly drawing winners every week. All right, so today's video, man, we're going to be talking about the NBA draft lottery projections and then also some of the trade rumors and news that at least I've been hearing on my end and some of the things that are just kind of floating out there around the NBA. Now, as you can see right here on our board right here, we got our big board right up here. We have the four teams with the highest percentage chances to get the number one pick. We got Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavs, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. They all have a 14% chance at getting the number one pick. Now, the only difference with this right here is the Golden State Warriors are guaranteed a top 5 pick. The Warriors cannot drop below 5. So the good thing about the Warriors pick as it stands now, it's extremely valuable if they did decide to trade it because it's guaranteed to be at a 5 or higher. Now, normally, if the season had panned out as most seasons normally do, this would have been top 4 protected. But because of the differences in how the season ended with certain teams not being invited to the NBA bubble, that's now changed. They're guaranteed a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. So again, when you're that number one team, what that does is it condenses the amount of players you really have to kind of recruit and study. Everybody knows, the needs of the Golden State Warriors. They desperately need a big, but again, the big is something they could potentially get in free agency. So it's hard to kind of estimate what exactly they'll do with that pick. Cavaliers have a whole host of issues. They just signed Andre Drummond. Again, I didn't really understand the Andre Drummond signing when you do have Kevin Love there. Again, Andre Drummond, his style of basketball is just kind of getting phased out. And for them to trade for Andre Drummond when they're struggling mightily to compete in the Eastern Conference, they have a lot to fix. Colin Sexton and Darius Garland just don't seem to be getting the job done, but that could change with as the culture changes over there. Minnesota Timberwolves again. This team has just been a big disappointment with Karl Anthony Towns leading the way over there. Now they have D'Angelo Russell, and they have a host of other young talent. The future does look bright, but for them to continuously find themselves in the lottery is just letting you know that just things aren't working out. They did trade away Andrew Wiggins to the Golden State Warriors, so hopefully this pans out. They found themselves in the lottery once again, but there are players that can fill holes. This is going to be a needs-driven draft, so they should be able to plug one of the major holes that they have on that roster. A true point guard is something that they're missing. They could use a power forward. It's going to be curious to see which direction they go when they do draft. And we got the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young over there. They are looking for a wing. They desperately need a 3-and-D wing. I know the Atlanta Hawks would love to get a guy like Anthony Edwards. I don't see Anthony Edwards dropping that low. So the Atlanta Hawks are just one of those teams. They're really, really hoping that they can find themselves at that 1 or 2 slot. If they can get their hands on Anthony Edwards, that's going to be extremely valuable to them. That's a pick that I know that Golden State is coveting. That's a player that Golden State is looking at heavily. I'm assuming if the Hawks can find a way to sneak and get Anthony Edwards, that would defer Golden State to their plan B, which is James Weisman. Again, these are all projections just based off of need. The Golden State can go in a completely different direction with their pick, just kind of based on what trades they make. If they have any other signings they plan on making, we'll discuss some of the trade rumors that I'm hearing in NBA chatter and NBA talks behind the scenes. So we're just going to scroll down this list right here. We just went through a simulator. So we just ran this simulator just to see where teams pan out. And so when I scroll down here, the simulator so far, it has the Golden State Warriors getting the number 1 pick, Cavs at 2, Minnesota at 3. Again, it's typical right there. And again, that's just prototypical order. Atlanta Hawks 4, Detroit Pistons 5, Knicks 6, Bulls at 7, Hornets at 8. Washington at 9 and the Pelicans at 10. The Pelicans definitely could use a pick. I would love to see the Pelicans maybe sneak their way up to 6 or 7. If they can bring in another young guy, that would be great for them as well. But when we look at some of these projections, obviously we know that 15-50 record is not representative of the Golden State Warriors team that we know. They're going to be back healthy and reloaded. Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, all 100% healthy. Kevin Looney's also going to be back as well. Just that 5 alone can get you deep into the playoffs. Just that 5 alone can get you deep into the playoffs. So, imagine if they can get their hands on a guy like Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has been projected to have one of the highest upsides in this draft. There are just so many question marks around Anthony Edwards. He's extremely athletic. He's the prototypical wing that you're looking for in this type of NBA right now. He meets the eye test. He plays fast. He's learning. He's developing a jump shot. I would love to see him be able to hit that 3-point shot just a little bit more effectively. But with all of the shooting that Golden State already has on his roster, they need a guy that can just relentlessly attack the rim. That guy could be Anthony Edwards. Number 2, going to Cleveland, we got Lamello Ball. Now, the one thing that this pick, this projection right here definitely does not make sense. I don't see Cleveland drafting a Lamello Ball unless the trade rumors are true. Now, there are some trade rumors floating around out there that they may package Darius Garland and Colin Sexton and send those guys, to New Orleans. We don't know, but at the end of the day, I don't see Cleveland Cavaliers drafting the Lamello Ball when you already have 2 guards that you just drafted, Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, that you're looking to develop. Unless you plan on trading Colin Sexton, restarting at the point guard position isn't smart. But again, one of the biggest knocks that I've heard about from Colin Sexton is that the man doesn't understand NBA offenses. He doesn't know how to run an NBA offense. And so the Cleveland Cavaliers could be looking to move away from Colin Sexton. And if they do make a trade, they could potentially trade Colin Sexton and go ahead and draft Lamello Ball. But that's the only scenario where I see them getting another point guard. We got the Minnesota Timberwolves getting Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's the super athletic power forward out of Dayton. Now, this will be a perfect pick for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So if everything falls correctly, they do need a power forward like this. This would be the type of power forward. He can be that dominant inside presence. As we know, Karl Anthony Towns, as their center, he likes to play from the outside in. So again, they would kind of work together perfectly because again, he could take up the interior area. Karl Anthony Towns could play the outside and work his way in. And then Obi Toppin, he's just that type of guy. He doesn't need to score. He's a cleanup guy. He can get every rebound. Super athletic. Can play off the pick and roll extremely well. So I do like Obi Toppin. This is one guy that I know for a fact is on the Golden State Warriors draft board as well. But again, I really think to get this guy, I think the only way they would trade down and select the Obi Toppin is if they made a trade with another team to move down in the draft. So that means they would be bringing in another player along with Obi Toppin. But that's the only way I see the Golden State Warriors selecting a guy like Obi Toppin. For the Atlanta Hawks, we have them drafting Onyeka Okoro. Now, this guy is a little-known player out of USC. This guy was teammates with Lamello Ball. He was teammates with Lamello Ball, Lonzo Ball, and LiAngelo Ball over at Chino Hills. This guy lived with the Ball family, so he was essentially raised by LeVar Ball. And again, he's like a basketball factory over there with the Ball brothers. But this guy essentially grew up with them. Now he finds himself in the lottery again after a great year, great freshman season over at USC. Again, USC basketball's kind of been on the downslide. So a lot of people just are not familiar with this particular player right here. But he's definitely a force to reckon with. Great intangibles, great size, great length, can play multiple positions. Again, this is exactly what you look for in a power forward today. I think he can come in and make a difference on the Atlanta Hawks team. Now, with the Atlanta Hawks, would this be a great pick? Being that they have John Collins at the power forward position, and being that they just got the center from Houston, the big guy from Houston, I can't remember his name right now. But again, I just don't see this being the typical pick for them. I know that they're looking for a wing, a 2 or a 3. This is why I say Anthony Edwards will be a great pick for them, and possibly the foreigner that you see down here at number 6, Denny Avji. This guy right here, those would be the 2 picks that I think the Atlanta Hawks are really looking at. They really need somebody to come in with some potential to fill that 2 position. It's just hard to say with the Atlanta Hawks, man, because I would much rather see a veteran come in and fill that role. You already have a young core. I just don't like the backcourt look when you have 2 young guys in the backcourt like the Cleveland Cavaliers does. Without a veteran presence like we see in OKC, you pair Chris Paul with a younger guy in the backcourt, and it bodes well for both players. So I don't want to see the Atlanta Hawks put another young guy at the shooting guard position, but that's really the primary hole that they need to fill. I don't think that they'll go big and draft a big. We got the Detroit Pistons with Killian Hayes at number 5. We got the New York Knicks, and this is a pick again. It would suck for the Knicks if they did drop this far in the draft. I really think the Knicks are going to try to trade up. The Knicks almost have to try to trade up. Lamello Ball is a perfect fit for the New York Knicks, being on that big stage. The fact that they desperately need a true point guard, a flashy point guard that can bring some energy and life back into Madison Square Garden. I really think the Knicks should try to find a way to move up in this draft, even if they have to trade up. One of the trade rumors that I've been hearing, if this draft pans out in this particular order, one of the trade rumors that I've been hearing is if the Golden State Warriors have that 1st or 2nd pick and the Knicks are trying to trade up to get to Lamello Ball, they will be willing to trade their center or pair with Julius Randle in a package deal to Golden State to get that pick. Now, will that actually happen? I don't know. But the one thing that I know for certain is that the Knicks are desperately trying to get Lamello Ball, and they are willing to trade up to get that draft pick. So how they can make that happen, I don't know. I don't really necessarily know how they can make it happen. But again, if they're willing to part with their promising young center or even Julius Randle to trade up, I think that they're making the right move, because right now they need something to kind of rejuvenate the basketball in New York City. And Lamello Ball would be the perfect player to do so with his flash and his confidence in playing in big markets. All right, next up we got the Chicago Bulls. Now, the Chicago Bulls, this is quite surprising because a lot of draft boards have James Weisman going in the top 5. I've seen him drop. Now, again, behind the scenes, there have been a lot of things that people have been speaking on with regards to James Wiseman's character, a lot of family issues that he has on top of the fact that there have been some unreported injuries that have now been discovered by NBA scouts. I think that alone has dropped James Wiseman down. Now, James Wiseman getting drafted to the Bulls, I think that could work. They don't necessarily have a true center. The center, the guy that they have playing center now is not necessarily a true center. He's more a 3 or a 4. So I think James Wiseman will fit well in with the Bulls. The Bulls have spent the last couple of drafts drafting point guards unnecessarily. So I think now they're overloaded with guards that they don't necessarily need. So going big in this draft would definitely be perfect for the Bulls right now. But again, it's still a stretch that James Wiseman drops this far. There are a lot of teams that I don't think would pass on James Wiseman if he was right there in the draft. For instance, with Detroit Pistons, I think James Wiseman will work perfectly with the young talent that they have over there. Potentially, I don't see the Knicks going for James Wiseman. But again, you never know. I think a lot of these teams are going to go with the philosophy draft based off of need. They're not going to draft based off who's the best player available. And when you're dealing with a James Wiseman, I think you really have to surround him with a very talented team so you're not thrusting all of the load on him to be great immediately, because bigs in this league do struggle coming in. It's hard to adjust to the fact that you're not going to be the dominant player. Aside from the fact that the NBA game has just changed. It's transitioning away from bigs. So until James Wiseman, until he's able to develop a better handle, a better shot, or even a three-point shot, I don't think he's going to be the go-to scorer on any particular team. All right, next up we got, and we're just going to run down the top 10 picks. I'm not going to hold you guys up. I'm not going to go through all of the picks. But we're going to run through the top 10 picks. And then also there's another pick selection a little bit farther down that I wanted to touch on as well. At the Hornets, they have them slated as drafting Tyrese Halliburton out of Iowa State. Now, this is a very, very solid guard. In some projections, they have him going as high as 4, 5, or 6. So, again, he's one of those players that, again, if he falls in the draft, if he does fall in the draft, if you're a team like New Orleans or if you're a team like Washington, you don't know what's going on with John Wall. This is a guy that you may want to scoop up if for whatever reason he drops in the draft. But he's a very, very solid point guard. Again, some projections have him as high as going 4. It's hard to pass on experience. This guy's an experienced point guard with length who can defend and do everything you need on the court. Also shoot the 3-ball well. So, again, I like this pick right here for the Hornets. But, again, at the end of the day, this is a point guard. And when you look at the Charlotte Hornets team, you just signed a point guard. You have a promising young 2 guard that's developing. Again, I don't know if this is the greatest pick for the Hornets, but there are some teams that definitely need this guy. I would say Washington would be the better fit for this particular player as opposed to the Hornets. All right, next up we got Washington's pick. We got Isaac Okoro. A solid player, nothing too special. He will probably be drafted based off potential alone. He hasn't really shown too much so far in college, but I think he does have a lot of upside. Now, again, is this a good fit for Washington? I don't necessarily think so, with Bradley Beal and John Wall potentially coming back next year. Roy Hachimura there. I think Washington's in a situation where they have to try to win. I don't think that they'll draft for this particular position. But again, you never know. I feel that Washington may end up trading their pick away, and they may go for a vet and try to fill a position of need. But again, with this draft, the way this draft is panned out, especially over the last couple of years, you never know. Sometimes it might be best to make the trades after the draft is over with, just to see what you can get. Because look at Denver. Denver was able to get Michael Porter Jr. He slipped mightily in the draft a few years ago, and it's panning out for them now. Michael Jordan Jr., some people were comparing him to LeBron James coming out of college. But due to the back injury, he slipped in the draft. Denver was able to hold on to him, let him get healed up, develop him, and now he's looking like the small forward of the future in the NBA, just based off how he's played in the NBA bubble now that he's 100% healthy. Next up at number 10 for the Pelicans. The Pelicans are just one of those teams just hoping that somehow they can slide up. And again, there's a little bit of luck involved in these lottery projections. Now, if New Orleans can maybe sneak their way up to 6, 7, or possibly 8. That would be a perfect scenario for the New Orleans Pelicans, especially with a new coach coming in. Again, it's hard to say what direction that they're going to be going in. Their draft is going to be based on what they see in their future. This is all based on how the GM wants this team to move forward in the future. If they do want to move away from Lonzo Ball and trade Lonzo Ball, then again they'll be looking for a guard. Possibly Tyrese Halliburton. But you never know with this particular spot right here. Being again, when you're at that 10 to 15 spot in the draft, again, you're probably one of those teams that's just a middle of the pack team, just wishing you would have had a slightly higher pick. But again, talent falls, and so that 10 to 15 pick, that's where the real GMs have to be GMs. You have to do your homework on players. You have to have a real understanding of the direction that you want to go with your team. So that you can select based off of need or based off of future need if you know that you're going to be making trades in the future. Now, as we scroll down this list right here, there were a few things that did surprise me. The one thing that definitely surprised me here was Cole Anthony going to Memphis. They have him going to Memphis there. I do see Cole Anthony going a little bit higher. New Orleans Pelicans. I think Cole Anthony will be a better point guard for them than Lonzo Ball as of right now, just because of his ability to shoot the ball. Again, they desperately need to find a way to space the court for Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. The only way you can do that is with elite shooting. Cole Anthony is definitely elite shooter, elite shot maker, and he has NBA blood. His dad, Greg Anthony, played in the NBA. And so guys like that just can naturally step into the NBA scene and make a difference. We've seen that a number of times with players who've had fathers or siblings in the NBA. But another thing that definitely surprised me, farther down on the list, Boston Celtics. I don't necessarily see them making this pick, but it showed that they were going to go after Nico Mannion. Now, Nico Mannion is just one of those players where he's got to get drafted into the right situation, and this is the perfect draft for Nico Mannion. And I say that because there are a lot of teams that need point guards. So I don't see Nico Mannion slipping that low into the draft. I don't see him going down into the 20s. NBA blood. His dad played in the NBA. This guy's a natural basketball player, a natural playmaker, low turnover rate, great assist guy. He can make shots from anywhere on the court. Again, this is the prototypical player that you want to bring into your system. I know the Phoenix Suns are really looking at him. If they can climb their way up and maybe sneak in and get him, I would love to see Nico Mannion stay in his hometown Phoenix, come back to Phoenix, and be the point guard of the future. Maybe sit for a year or two behind Ricky Rubio just to learn the NBA game, but then eventually take over. So, I mean, that's where we have it right here. The NBA draft is, again, the numbers have changed with regards to the percentages, with regards to how teams can get those top lottery picks. But for the most part, I think the lottery balls will fall in the expected order. We may see some surprises. We may see the Atlanta Hawks jump up to 1 or 2. But for the most part, I like this draft. I like that it's a needs-based draft, and this is what makes this lottery extremely intriguing. I'll definitely be watching when the draft lottery on Thursday, and I'll be watching the NBA draft when it happens, because I'm really curious to see how teams approach this draft, because a lot of teams have humongous needs that need to be filled immediately. And again, for the Bulls, Knicks, when we're talking about the Atlanta Hawks, Minnesota, Golden State, again, I've told people time and time again, they're in the best possible situation. Again, they are, unlike some of these other teams, Golden State's in a situation where they could draft a Lamello Ball and make him fit in. They can draft an Obi Toppin and have him fit in. They can draft an Anthony Edwards and use him as that wing, because of their system, because of the players that they already have, the foundation. Again, they're in a good spot. So they're in the best spot out of any team, because even if they drop to 4 or 5, there's still a player there that will allow them to plug a hole. And then there's always you can trade, and there's always players even below that where you can trade down, still draft one of the guys that you wanted, and then maybe bring in another guy who can help you right now. We know the Warriors are going to be in win now mode. All right, so man, hey, that's the draft. that is the draft lottery simulator episode, man. I just wanted to I just really wanted to do this episode because, again, as I looked over these names, as I did my research on these players, it just became more and more interesting. So I wanted to get that information out to you guys. But this is the NBA Draft Simulator. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. If you guys have any questions, or if you have any comments about some of these NBA teams and where picks and players might fall, let me know in the comments. Definitely interact with us. And again, I'm still waiting on a subscriber to step up and let me know that you want to come on to the show. If you're a subscriber, again, we're at 11,000. If you're a subscriber, let me know. I don't have a problem with you coming on to the show individually, being a part of the show. That's what we do here at FYF Sports. But again, so we don't have to put you on Front Street, just to let you guys know we will be going live soon. We will be going live. And so definitely when we go live, we can have callers call in back to back. Again, when we do our live debates, it's always going to be a winner for a cash prize every time we go live. So you're going to want to make sure you tune in when we go live. You don't want to miss out. And you got more incentive to call in and bring your best arguments because, again, you might be the winner. You might win the cash prize. It's not going to be up to me. It's going to be up to the chat. But FYF Sports, man, another great episode, and we out.